Hey, what's up? This is Ward Wrestling, and pretty awesome opportunity here. I know a JITZKING. We've all heard of it in the kind of the fight world down here in Florida. They do a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. They have a pretty cool thing they put on every year down in Lakeland at one of the local playhouses on stage, and they just have a blast. Well, they're getting into the wrestling world now, and they're going to call it MATKINGZ, and they're bringing out something July 13th. It's going to be the launch of their first open tournament. We've got the owners on here, Enrique and Eduardo, and we're going to talk about it. So, and if you guys have any questions or concerns, hit these guys up, social media, wherever, and ask them the questions, and they'll be happy to answer for you. But anyway, man, really nice to meet you guys. I'm glad that we got connected and have the opportunity to do this. So, welcome. I mean, first of all, JITZKING has been huge. I know I have a friend, they call him Dino. You guys probably know him with Ehab and Nadir. And I know a lot of your weigh-ins used to be at his taco place, and they just sold it. But he's always spoke very highly of you guys and the promotions you put on, and those are usually just one fight card. Is that with this open process, are you going to start putting on like open tournaments to lead up to like a one type of fight card like you do on the jiu-jitsu side?
That's exactly right. That's our main goal. We love doing the super fight shows. Those are our favorite. But to get the people to compete on super fight shows, we thought it would be a great idea to throw the opens and grab all the champions from the opens and put them in the super fight show. I think that's probably the best thing we could do, because usually we're doing invitationals, we're calling people, calling coaches to set up their fighters, this and that. But I think the best way to find a champion is to, throw opens. Let them come from the opens, and then that's going to be your real champion, is put champion up against champion.
Yeah, I love the idea. I mean, I was talking to a wrestling coach the other day about in the future putting a kind of like a summer team together. But in order to create that summer team, having it a tournament, just one tournament, and those 14 women and men for those two teams that'll compete nationally come from that tournament, right? So you're competing for a spot, and that spot gets you this. So I love the concept.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We've been planning it for a long time. We've been trying to do wrestling for a while. I was a wrestler growing up, and Enrique's a pretty good wrestler himself. So, it's kind of a part of our love and something I wanted to do for a long time, but things just didn't go work together, go into place. But now we have a good opportunity, and I would love to get into wrestling and, showcase some of these talents, man. You don't see them that much out there. I want to see the wrestlers, I want to see the superstars, sure. Make them even to bigger superstars with our super fight show.
It's all about the competitors, you know what I mean? It's about hyping them up. It's about introducing them to the people, right? And with social media the way it is today, there's no excuse to have something like this happen, and honestly, the best meeting the best. I mean, if you start young enough, it's going to become habit, and eventually you're going to spread, right? And we're going to get to see some of the most exciting matches that you can ever think of. So, no, I love the idea. We've been doing this with jiu-jitsu for a little bit. We've been open now for about 6 years, or on our 6th year, and now branching out to wrestling. But we had a little bit of a soft launch, well, you might say, in our jiu-jitsu tournaments. We have what we call takedown only matches, where it's just about the takedowns, right? And the first to 10 wins, and honestly, they're my favorite matches. They're very exciting. They're just go, go, go. They don't stop, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's just something that we're trying to bring to jiu-jitsu, because in jiu-jitsu, that the takedown is something that I believe many jiu-jitsu schools are not teaching, and something that we want to see integrated more into the entire grappling.
Yeah, it's great. You see that you go to like a weekend tournament with the youth, maybe a Brandon or a Lake Gibson or a Tampa Jesuit or anywhere, from Lake Prep all the way down to South Dade. And a lot of times when the little kids are in a round robin or the youth kids are in a round robin, they don't want to, they want to wrestle. So they'll do like kind of a takedown only where there's no pins, right? So you'll see them say, hey, we're just going to do takedown only. We're going to score it to this way. And this way the kids get to wrestle and they don't just, because a lot, at that age, there's a lot of separation, right? Sometimes you'll have a 10-year-old that's been wrestling since he was 5 and a 10-year-old that wrestled since he was 9.5. And now the one that's been wrestling a long time, it's just going to pin him in a minute. And the kid came all this way, the parents came all the way, and to see that kind of sucks. Obviously, if it's a big national level tournament, it is what it is, right? But for something like this, where it's just challenging kids to get out to get better, I think having a takedown option like I read about that you guys are going to do, I think it's awesome because I think plus it, and I don't know, listen, I've only been in wrestling, I tell people 5 minutes, right? I've been in wrestling through my kid's high school career, and I fell in love with it, and I've started to learn it, right? But I would say that it takes a while for a new kid to get the confidence up to shoot, right? You'll see them and they're scared to shoot.
Yeah.
So maybe going to these little takedown events or creating these takedown events will start to grow their confidence on taking that shot, right? Is that what you guys have seen too on the jiu-jitsu side?
We've seen kids improve in that area a lot. And with the first wrestling tournament that we'll have, it's an open. We're testing different things. So I don't know that we'll have that in that, but I'm envisioning in the next one that we're going to have most likely September.
Because I know reading the thing you sent me, it mentioned that you may have a takedown tournament there. So that's why I brought it up. But whether you have it or don't have it, people out there do little takedown tournaments because I think growing the kids' confidence is good. But anyway, look, July 13th, it's MATKINGZ now. You guys are going to be at the what's the name of the little center? I just saw the
Simpson
name.
Park. Yeah,
Simpson Park.
Mhm.
That's down there. Is that in the Lakeland area, or is that in one of the rural like Auburndale or?
No, it's right in Lakeland, right off of 37, kind of by the old Home Depot, near
Awesome.
I-4. Yeah, so
Awesome.
it should be easy to get to. There should be plenty of parking there and lots of space, right? And so looking forward to meeting all the wrestlers, all their parents, all the competitors. Honestly, that's the fun day, right? And that's the fun thing to do. And
how many? Go ahead. I'm so sorry. There's always a little bit of a delay, and then I get caught speaking over somebody. But go ahead. I apologize.
No, I was gonna say a lot of times, Eddie and the rest of the team, they keep me up front for most of the day, and I don't get to see a lot of the matches. But that's my favorite part. But Eddie's, gets to be inside and he gets to watch all the matches. So a little jealous.
That's great. And how many mats do you guys plan on putting down?
Right now we have 6. We just purchased new mats, and we have 6 mats. Hoping that we can fill them all, and hoping that all the competitors that are in it, get to break them in, and they're beautiful. We waited a long time for them. Yeah, we ordered them, just to give you an idea. We ordered these, I think, last October, and we just got them a week ago. So
Excited.
Took a while, but
so 6 mats, and you guys are going to go from, what did I see, like 8U all the way up to adults, right?
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
So if you're an adult out there wrestling, if you're a coach, if you're a kid that just got out of college and you're getting that itch again for a little competition, definitely head out to Simpson Park and do that. Now, the cost is what, $50? Is that what I was reading?
Yes, correct.
So entry is $50, and you come Now you're in a weight class. Are these going to be bracketed tournaments? Are they going to be round robin tournaments? Are you guaranteeing a certain amount of matches? Or obviously it all depends on kids that enter. I'd imagine if you have a weight that's got 30 kids in it, it's going to be bracketed, right? If you have a weight that's going to have 6 kids in it, you're probably going to run a round robin. Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, correct. But the intention is to have a double elimination type, type event, where everybody gets to compete at least twice, and so,
Right.
yeah, it's tough to determine how many, we'll
Yeah.
have in each bracket simply because we still have about 4 weeks left. But
Sure.
typically in jiu-jitsu, we get to pre-bracket everything and kind of like pre-package everything before the tournament. I've been told that in wrestling, everything is done after the weigh-ins. We are doing the weigh-in the night before and also the morning of. And so right after those weigh-ins take place, we put everybody into their weight classes, age brackets, and go from there. So,
Okay.
if
Weigh-ins. So weigh-ins, you're going to have 2 opportunities to weigh in. You're going to have an opportunity the night before. Is that going to be like an early weigh-in, and then there's going to be a weigh-in in the morning, or are you just offering two options just to get in case there's some people that are traveling and things like that?
2 options, just
Cool.
for convenience, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yep, and so typically we have everything out, and everybody knows who they're matched up with. But that's the jiu-jitsu world. I've been told in wrestling everything is done the day of, and that's the way that we're gonna do it here. We're gonna weigh everybody, and then based on how everybody weighs in, they're gonna be aligned to their age brackets and weight classes. And if there's a smaller bracket, then you're right. Maybe we do a round robin, and the intention is for everybody to have at least 2 matches or more.
Yeah, that's what you see in some, a lot of the off-season tournaments that aren't, like, they're not going to do that at like NHSCA's, right? But for weekend tournaments like this, you'll see a lot of, for example, typically maybe 132, 128, 138. Those are weight classes that typically fill, and you get plenty of kids to run a bracket. But sometimes, the lighter weights or the smaller kids or the heavyweights, you might only get enough to where it doesn't make sense to do a double elimination match. You just put the 6 guys together. They get 5 matches because they wrestled everybody, and let them fall where they fall, right?
Yeah.
And then did I read something that the champions? Well, yeah, let's explain that, because I know we haven't been. I know we talked about that a little bit right at the beginning, but we're going to have. This is going to be the first Open. So guys, this will be the first Open. You're going to be competing to win a tournament, just like you would compete any tournament. Their goal is to have several of these throughout a certain time period, and then at the end have a championship invitation tournament that when they look at the end of this, say, okay, these are the 14 or whatever the weight classes are, or these are the 8U to college, and this is the kids we're going to put on there. But now, tournament by tournament, did I read something about there's going to be shirts, or there's going to be medals, or there's going to be some sort of something I was reading that you guys will be giving the kids, and that they'll be able to take home as kind of a memory?
Yeah, so they get a shirt, right, for registering. I believe if they register right before the 25th, they get that free shirt. We do have medals for those who place in the first, second, and third place. We do have a really cool podium. Believe it or not, we have a throne in the middle, so first place
That's
gets
awesome.
to sit on the throne. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures from the jiu-jitsu side, because the gentleman that used to go to school at Southeastern that does
Carlos.
jiu-jitsu, Carlos, and does photos,
Carlos.
and now
Yeah.
he's out in Texas. Yeah, he's
So,
a
yeah,
great guy. So I used to see his photos come out, and he's talented, man, and
He's
a
amazing.
super
He's
good dude. So
amazing.
I used to see his
Yep.
photos all the time when he was living locally, and good
Yep,
for him, man.
The take that only that's his idea. That's his, that's where it all came from. So
and
a
it
very
makes
good
sense. It
wrestler.
makes sense because
Yeah.
he probably sees the kids doing that, and probably his experience not just in jiu-jitsu but going out to these little weekend tournaments. You'll see it out there where they take the young kids and they'll do takedown only so that the kids can kind of build their confidence and have fun, and it's not. I guess I'm learning that the one thing you don't want to do in this sport is just get new kids smacked right off the bat, right? Like if they're new to the sport and they're just constantly losing, it discourages them, right? And we want to keep kids in the sport, we want to keep them growing. So I'd imagine with jiu-jitsu too, yeah, a little bit different because it's more of a grappling style, right? You're not getting like 5-pointed onto your head. You're getting, but you're getting your arms locked up and your legs locked up. And I'm sure kids feel the same way. Like, man, I don't want to get my arm broken today. I'm going to stay home. But what I like in the jujitsu is when I see the youth matches, they don't let it happen. They stop it early. Like there is no tapping. I mean, there's tapping, but when they see the lock come in, the refs know that's locked in.
My
this
refs
game's
are
over.
really good about that. I'm so overprotective of the kids that my referees know if something doesn't look good, I don't care if the parents get upset, which they will.
Right.
I say, stop it. I don't want any kid going to the hospital after my event. They might be a little sore about losing. Maybe they think, it was stopped a little early, but I don't care. None of my kids, I don't want none of these kids going home with a broken arm or messed up
Right.
elbow.
And obviously in wrestling, it's a little different because there's no locks, right? So you either get pinned or you get teched, right? And it's over. But I see in your world, where at the younger age levels, they don't let the full lock in. They see that it's coming, and the refs are smart enough to know, 10 more seconds, 3 more seconds, and that's locked up, right? So let's call it. And I'm sure
I'm very strange about that. I just don't want the kids getting hurt, to be honest with you. And my referees know how I am. So they've been with us pretty much for the entire 5-6 years we've been in business.
Awesome.
We try to get very high level referees, all black belts, been in the game,
cool.
at least a decade or so,
Now, do you have somebody helping you get the wrestling refs, or are you bringing in a lot of the refs that you do? Okay, good. So you'll have
our referees are going to be pretty much high level,
wrestlers. Nice.
So we're working on that right now, working on all the staff. We're trying to get everybody that does wrestling,
Cool.
Even though, my referees, they know wrestling, they teach wrestling,
Oh, that's good.
But I'd rather get, wrestlers that just do wrestling to referee.
Well, and I look, a lot of referees are wrestlers and jiu-jitsus, and they may be referees at both styles, so they could ref both sides. I see that happen. And now the other question is, are you guys doing folk style, freestyle?
Yes.
What's
folk
the
style.
It's going to be folk style. Good.
Folk style.
Because the kids, Fargo kind of ends, and that's kind of the date for that. So Fargo kind of ends the freestyle season. That's good. So kids can start to get warmed up and get set to go up and do that. Also, the beginning of September, I believe is
good way to start the season.
Yeah. So people can get some preps in, and then October, November. So a lot going on. Man, I can't wait to see the tournament you guys put on. I think it's going to be great, and obviously you guys do great things on the jiu-jitsu side, and like anything else, right? You don't know unless you try, right? So let's go. And look, opportunity being given for kids to wrestle is always great, right? So no matter, some tournaments are great, some tournaments are okay, some tournaments win, some tournaments people complain about, some people don't complain. There's always going to have that. But the biggest, most important thing is you're creating another opportunity for kids to wrestle and kids to get out on the mat and kids to have opportunities to get better. And that's the most important thing. And the kids that want to will show up, and kids that aren't interested won't, right? So,
That's right.
Exactly.
but yeah, any opportunity for kids to get out on the mat is always respected and always thankful. And I mean, I know, I think it's great what you guys are doing, trying to lean into another style and you guys have done well with the jiu-jitsu world. And why not? Why not give opportunity in the wrestling world? And there's a lot of kids that you guys already support that are high school wrestlers, are youth wrestlers already, and they do both. We see that a lot in South Florida with, you see the big jiu-jitsu company down there that, what's it, Alpha, where they have a lot of kids in there, and
Team
you see a
Alpha
lot,
Miami, yeah, great
yeah,
team.
you see all those kids in there and they're doing jiu-jitsu, but during the wrestling season, they're in the wrestling rooms, and a lot of them are on the top of the wrestling podium at the end of the year, and then they're placing, they're getting medals, um, and you may see kids that only wrestle and get an opportunity to teach them jiu-jitsu, right? You may get them into. Do you guys have a gym that you guys coach out of? Are you guys still in that part of the world?
We train at Fabio Novaes Jiu-Jitsu. That's our
Okay.
home gym over here.
Nice.
Great gym. We've been with him 15, 20 years pretty much, right, Enrique?
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah, so you may be
So
able to see some opportunity there to commingle kids in the sport, and that's not a bad thing, because some of these kids are wrestling for. Because I've seen kids that started in jiu-jitsu, now they're doing wrestling because they want to get to college, and obviously
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu is great, but the wrestling is a collegiate sport, and that's going to give them the opportunity to get to college. But at that point, they kind of lean back into the jiu-jitsu. Now they've learned their ground game. Now they've done what they have to do education-wise, and now they're coming back, and now they want to get into the fight game, and they've gone through all the levels. So some of these kids you meet in the wrestling world, and you start to talk to them, their goal might be to be a mixed martial artist. And you might say, well, the biggest part is grappling. I mean, there you go. You've got that. You're learning that. Now come and add this to your styles, and then the sky's the limit, right? And they can start to compete in some other stuff. And you see a lot of the kids. You see kind of moves start to happen. Obviously, don't go to your back in wrestling. It's good in jiu-jitsu, not in wrestling.
that was a big problem for me. Starting
yeah.
jiu-jitsu as a wrestler, I did not want to get on my back.
Yeah. Don't go to your. It's funny because you talk to jiu-jitsu coaches, and you guys could probably attest to this, and they're like, "Man, when we get a wrestler in the room, we love it because we can coach them. We know their work ethic. We know what they want to do." But then you talk to a wrestling coach, and they're like, "When we first get the jiu-jitsu kid, we're like, damn." Because you got to break them of that back habit, right? Like
Yeah.
we love it. We know the good thing is they're used to being on the mat. They're used to being in competition. That same fear is not there because they've gotten comfortable with that anxiety of getting out there. So they don't have to get through that. But the coach's like, no, don't go to your back. Yeah, I've seen it. I saw. Oh man, I remember seeing a young lady, and she's a high level wrestler and a high level jujitsu. You guys probably know who she is, Brielle Bibla. And if her dad is listening to this, he was ready to just absolutely kill the referee. We were at the Michigan Grappler at this point. It wasn't in Michigan because of COVID, so we were over. They were having it over in the Carolinas, and she's a great wrestler, and she's in college now wrestling, and she was beating this girl, and she went and did. It was the second time she did the move, and the first it went exactly the way it went the first time. So I don't know why the ref called it this time, but she grabbed her ankle over to turn the girl. So I guess she put her leg around the back and grabbed her ankle, and then she spun to go around. Well, when she spun and her back touched, the ref hit the mat and pinned her. That she pinned herself. And this is a huge tournament.
Oh wow!
This is a huge national level tournament. I thought her dad put a hole in the floor when he punched the floor. He was so upset.
Oh.
And he had every right, because she had done that. it was a move that she uses, right? And whenever she's in a trouble situation, she goes to that, and that kind of helps her get leverage. And oh man, but again, it's the the jujitsu thing, right? Sometimes it could catch you off guard, and she was definitely upset about that. But we love her. She's awesome. But man, so are you guys excited about this opportunity? I bet you can't wait.
I'm crazy excited.
And,
For sure.
I don't know if I asked this, but you guys are doing great in your jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's your lane, right? That's been your lane for a long time. You're comfortable there. You do things. What made you finally decide, you know what? Let's give this a shot. I mean, it's obviously going to be a little uncomfortable. You haven't done it before. They say in the fight game, make yourself uncomfortable. I'm sure that's something you guys live by too, but you guys had a lane and it's working. It's awesome. It's going to create more opportunities for kids, but what made you guys wake up and go, you know what, shit, let's try this. Let's see what we can do.
I was a wrestler most of my life, okay, since I was 12 years old. So it's something me and Enrique wanted to do for years. We just weren't in that position to do it. We want to, our goal is always to showcase the athletes, or that's always been our goal. Showcase the athletes and just make them maybe, put them in a different light where people can actually see them a lot more. And maybe they could even make a little bit more money. We've done that in jiu-jitsu quite a bit. And, we would love to tackle wrestling and maybe do some really cool super fight shows and just bring wrestling to a different level, man. Wrestling is so big in the United States when it comes to high school, but after high school, there's really not much for wrestling. I saw there's some tournaments around the country, this and that, but there's nothing that really showcases the athletes and brings them to like a different level as far as like money, competition, and that's what we want to do. We want to just be a different outlet for them and like showcase their skills. Everything we do is going to eventually be streamed, especially the invitationals. So that's a good opportunity to show, the country what these wrestlers can do,
Yeah, I think it's great because I know I've always wondered, like you see wrestling and it's obviously growing and they do all that. And you're right. Once they get through college, the option is to compete on the world level and you can go do some of that, but there's not pro wrestling. I mean, other than like there's a WWE, but and wrestlers go into that. That's become kind of like the pros for them, right? But
right.
But even at the youth level, you see wrestling clubs and things like that, and I guess that's kind of. But it's funny. I can drive through. It used to be karate dojos, right? You drive every strip mall had a karate dojo. Now it's more jujitsus, right? Now you're seeing jujitsu and MMA dojos. Do they call it a dojo in MMA also, or mixed martial arts?
I don't know.
I don't know, but they used to see it. Yeah,
academies more than anything.
Academies, right? So why? I guess the wrestling is being incorporated into these academies now. I don't think everything is. A lot of these academies aren't staying specific to one art anymore. Like maybe their specialty is jujitsu. Maybe that's what gets people in, but they have the options now, and maybe they bring in a wrestling coach too, right?
Yep.
And see some rule sets in jiu-jitsu, especially like at no gi, right? A lot of times there favors the wrestlers, right? Because there's those overtimes and whoever gets that takedown wins, right? So it could be tied up to the whole time, but it's about that complete grappler, right? And everything starts standing up. And so I think that's the reason why schools are teaching it, especially MMA schools. But now I think jiu-jitsu schools are seeing the same. And that's why they're also teaching that in their schools and programs. But no, I'm just excited to feature the competitors because I don't see that like you see in jiu-jitsu, right? And wrestling is so much bigger and these kids, let's be honest, man, they're working their butts off and a little recognition would go a long way,
Which is why I started taking photos, right? I started this podcast to kind of give back to a sport that was beginning to change my family's life because my older son found the sport. He was in a situation where he really needed something like that, and it's changed his whole life completely. I mean, he's still competing to today. And I started the podcast while speaking to a lot of the wrestlers that I spoke to through the podcast, not the younger kids, because the younger kids are already in an era of the cell phone and the things like that, right? So they're getting memories already. But a lot of the older generation that I was speaking to, and even kids that were in college, were saying, man, I wish I had more pictures of my youth. I wish I had more memories of my youth. I wish I had more of that. So I had never taken pictures of anybody. I mean, my kids, we had a camera that we'd go on vacation with the kids, right? And we would take pictures of the kids, but that was it. And that's one of the reasons what made me go out there and do that, is for obviously to create memories for these kids. But what does that do? That gets them posting the photos, that gets them tagging the tournaments they're at, that gets them sharing them with their friends. And who else is seeing this? Coaches, colleges, high school, are seeing them. And now they're getting to hear about kids or see kids that maybe they've never would have seen. Maybe there's a kid in a little town of Auburndale in Lakeland that is an absolute stud, but due to maybe funding, due to opportunities given to that child, due to due to things not being available to that person, and they can't travel nationally, they're not seen. But they're out studs here in the state of Florida. We know who they are because we see them at the podiums, but they don't get those opportunities. But now, if we're putting them on social media, if we're showing them out, we're posting them and we're marketing, we're saying, hey, great match by ABC over this weekend, man, keep an eye on this one, right? And
what if there's a coach that sees that, right? What if this kid is the first one in his family to go to college? What if that kid is the first one to graduate college? You know what? You change not only his life, you're gonna change lives of his family and of generations to come. And I mean, that's what we're here for, man. Social media is powerful, but most importantly, we're gonna get kids off the couch, hopefully, that will come in and wrestle. And look, man, wrestling is hard, but life is hard. So what wrestling does, it gives people confidence, and it allows people to prepare themselves so that they can perform well at whatever they want to do. Whatever it is. Once you get a wrestler, that kid's going to be committed to do whatever it takes to succeed. And that's
in
the
anything,
bottom line.
yeah. Whenever they get their job, their school, their classes,
Anything.
A bad breakup with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, those days suck, right? I remember sitting on my dad's floor, being 18, and girls said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. And my dad's like, suck it up. Right. And you're like, damn. But yeah, it's a great sport and the opportunities you give it. And that's what I've seen. Like I was saying, wouldn't it be cool to see like wrestling academies in these little
I would
strip
love
malls,
it. That's
right?
what we would love to do.
But you see, I hear, even talking with Dino, who I mentioned.
He's
His
kids
God
are
bless
amazing.
unbelievable. And
Yeah,
but
we love
he would
Dino.
say that a lot of the jiu-jitsu world now is training kind of anti-wrestling. They're not anti-wrestling. Don't get me wrong.
No.
What I'm saying, they are very pro wrestling, but the people that are training jiu-jitsu and are ending up at these jiu-jitsu tournaments, and these wrestlers are coming in and blowing them off the mats, and they're going, oh, well, I don't know how to stop a blast double. I don't know how to stop these things that are coming at me, these duck unders and these things. And they're starting to train in jiu-jitsu rooms how to some preventative maintenance, right? And, so when I say anti-wrestling, I mean, they're just trying to create some space for themselves or some moves that can create, sort of separation when this guy's coming at him. But also I've heard, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that there's been a lot of talk about when these high-level wrestlers decide to make a transition to jiu-jitsu, they're not starting them at white belt, kind of starting them a belt or two ahead, depending on their level. Obviously, if there's you can't have wrestled like 1 year at your local gym. That's not going to work, right? But these wrestlers that are transitioning, that have been state placers, state qualifiers. They're in college wrestling. They get done and they're coming into the jiu-jitsu world, or they're wrestling coaches now. They're coming to the jiu-jitsu world. It's got to suck to be at a white belt tournament, and there's this
Well, I'll tell you my
guy
experience,
coming
okay?
in,
And I was a pretty decent wrestler. I wrestled on the All Army wrestling team. I wrestled a little bit in college, just clubs, like UCF just has a club, USF just has a club. So I just
right?
wrestled in clubs, but I was a pretty decent wrestler. I went into jujitsu thinking I was gonna kill everybody. Okay. And my first opponent was a 130-pound guy. I thought I was gonna, run right through him. And I was pretty much his little girlfriend, I'll tell you that. This guy tapped me out at least 9, 10 times in about 2 minute, span. So
Well,
it was
I'm
actually
sure
harder
I'm
for
sure
me
there's
as a
levels.
wrestler.
Yeah, I'm sure there's levels to the jujitsu
Yeah.
also. But as far as like a white belt tournament, it's got to be tough. Like, I mean, we have coaches in Florida that I've seen that they started out as white belts, and even I talk to families, and they're like, man, when that dude came into a white belt tournament, like dads were flying, right? Because, but yeah, there's obviously levels to it. I mean, like we see Jason Knopf, who's obviously one of the greatest wrestlers we've seen in our country, and he's going to go compete in this huge $1 million jiu-jitsu challenge. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, this is going to be different level jiu-jitsu guys, and obviously, this is somebody who's at the highest level of wrestling. So we're going to be able to see them compete. But you look at, you see UFC and all these, that wrestling background is definitely giving these guys some favor on
Yeah.
the floor, on the ground. But yeah, obviously there's high level and everything, and there's jujitsu guys that are gonna tap out wrestlers. But what I've heard is the jujitsu world is starting to create different type of moves to avoid some of that action that a wrestler brings, right? That constant movement,
100%.
that constant pressure, that constant arm drags, the constant ankle picks and the ducks. But well, I'm excited. Maybe down the road incorporating both styles, right? Maybe you've got a JITZKING and a MATKING tournament going on at the same time. I've seen that at different conventions. I went down in the YIC down in Miami was having a big wrestling tournament on one side of the convention hall, and right behind the stands was a huge jiu-jitsu tournament going on, right in the same room in the same place. I mean, that would be huge, and what a great opportunity for you guys, because if you're promoting both sports and you're able to put on an event that brings in both kids, and maybe something where it overlaps. Maybe you have a kid that is an Alpha Miami kid, for example, that during the off season they're going to focus on their jujitsu, right? And what they're doing, they're traveling to big tournaments. But maybe that kid wants to wrestle and do jujitsu on the same weekend. Now
Right.
you've got a
So
tournament
So we
schedule they
actually
can
have
enter.
something like that.
we
We have
so in
something like that
September.
going on in September. It's called Fit Fest, where on a Saturday we're going to have a jujitsu event, and on Sunday we're going to have a wrestling event.
Oh,
So
very
we've been
cool.
doing this event. This is our second year with them. They're pretty amazing. I mean, they bring in about 10 to 15,000 people every day walking through there. So it's going to be pretty major. We're going to have some wrestling and jiu-jitsu superstars there. So it's going to be a really fun event. That's in
Yeah, that's
September. That's going
awesome.
to be here in Tampa on September, I think it's
7th and 8th.
17th and 18th, right?
No, 7th and 8th, and it's at
7th and 8th.
the Tampa Bay Fairgrounds. So
Yeah.
it should be a pretty great show for everyone.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
awesome.
this is the first one, but like I mentioned, that the second one will be in September, right before season starts. And again, we hope to be that place where kids can compete in the off season, right? Where they can get that because look, at least when I was younger, you got better in the summer, in the off season. That's
Right.
when kids came back the next year and they were like a different animal, right? That's when you
Yep.
make your huge gains. And so we want to be that place where they can do that. We also want to be a place where they can, where they can come and compete, not only in the off times, but from time to time, we might have it not where it interferes with the season, because we want to be respectful of the wrestling season, but we want to be there for them to compete. For those kids that can't afford to go other places like the Dakotas, right? We want to have a place for them to release energy and to really, you know, hone in the wrestling, and so that they can make that next step, that natural step for the next coming year, the next coming season.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great what you guys are doing. I'm excited to see it kind of all play out. And it was cool to kind of see your name. I mean, your name has become popular in the area. I've heard of JITZKING people in the jiu-jitsu world with your big
Thank
invitationals that you guys put on, and the kids. And there's a lot of kids that when I was first learning, I didn't realize, I was like, oh, that kid does jiu-jitsu too. I had no idea, right? And I saw you on one of your cards, right? And then the pictures that Carlos would post that were unbelievable were cool. We'd see all that happen. So awesome, man. Well, I'm excited for you guys. I won't be here at that time. I'm going to be in Fargo. I do the media for the Fargo team. So I won't get to see it, but I'm sure it'll be amazing. And for anything you guys do, I'm sure will be incredible. But I appreciate you coming on, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you so much.